Welcome back. A good friend of the show, Phill Kline. He's a former AG, attorney, and also right now he's heading up something very important, director of the Amistad Project. Phill, I saw you on the screen yesterday here on our network as that brave truck driver stood up and said what he saw. Just fill folks in on what you've been uncovering and where, because we know there is so much to cover. Whether it's Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, we've got voter fraud, irregularities, and election fraud and irregularities happening in at least 5 to 7 states.
That's right. And what we're seeing is common tactics being funded by a common funder in all of these swing state urban areas. Mark Zuckerberg contributed $400 million to influence, in fact, directly pour money into election centers that we're speaking about and dictate how the elections will be run. That was joined by Google money and other big tech money. Then what we're seeing is the consolidation of these voting centers for the first time under the claim of COVID, which allowed them to flow hundreds of thousands of ballots late at night into one big center. We're seeing Republicans kicked out. We see the drop boxes created without logs saying who transported those ballots and how they were transported, with the allowance of fraudulent ballots coming in during that flow, a break of the chain of custody. And now we've got a truck driver who says, look, I had completed ballots. They loaded my truck with ballots that had been cast and were ready to be counted, all lined up in a row in these bulk mail units from a post office facility that doesn't even receive mail. And they took me down to Pennsylvania, and then the next day, the trailer that had the ballots, the same trailer this guy had used every time he ran this route, was gone. It disappeared. Trailer number 10, R1440, holding 288,000 ballots, is gone. And now we've learned and corroborated from inside that postal facility that ballots were being shipped out of there on multiple occasions, completed ballots. So there's substantial evidence of fraud, and we deserve answers.
Yes, we do. We demand them. Where are we at vote count-wise in Pennsylvania on the difference between Biden and President Trump at the last count that we know of?
Well, I think it's around 80,000. I'm not certain.
Yeah, I thought it was 60 to 80, somewhere
60.
in there. Okay.
And let me tell you, we've got experts who are saying in Pennsylvania there's well over 100,000 ballots in question. In Wisconsin, it's over 200,000 ballots in question. In Michigan, it's over 500,000 ballots that we've identified in question. Wow. And that includes, by the way, direct contact with voters who say, look, I didn't vote this election, but look here, somebody cast a vote for me. It also includes tens of thousands of Republicans who say they voted, they requested absentees, but they weren't counted. So, but I need to say this, all of this talk, can it flip the election? We don't know until we get the ballots, and the ballots are being held by Democrat officials who won't let anybody touch them. That's the problem. And so there are clear answers we can obtain if those folks will just allow America in the counting room rather than have Mark Zuckerberg run the show. Another example of this, Jesse and his movement of these ballots, that's all GPS tracked. The trailer is GPS tracked. The tractor is GPS tracked.
How do we get the info to get that info? How do we get that? Do we have to go to court and demand to get the tracking device and see the record of where it went?
It should be released. The U.S. Postal Service has cameras on their docks. They have employees that need to speak about what happened. All of this can be provable. And you're absolutely right. I greatly appreciate your focus on the truth. The mainstream media won't even ask the question.
I know.
They won't even try to seek the answers to these.
No, they're saying this is a right-wing conspiracy trumped up by Trump supporters who are making it up, when there are literally hundreds of brave Americans that have nothing to do with politics. They're truck drivers, they're postal workers, they're factory workers that were doing a second job as an observer or working in a polling station. They are regular Americans, and every age, every color, every gender, they've come forward and said, I'm signing an affidavit, and this is perjury under penalty of law, right?
That's right.
And they're going, this is what I saw. And yet the little lapdogs over at MSNBC, CNN, the big three, ABC, all of them, just say there's no voter fraud. And even if there was, it's so small, it wouldn't overturn the election, which is what I want to touch to you on, because the minute the statement came out yesterday from AG Barr, and you're a former AG, I saw CNN and all of them jump on it and go, see, I guess Barr's in on a conspiracy with deep state people because he's saying there's no fraud and the investigation's over. That's not what he said, and that's not where we're at right now. Explain that to folks where we're at right now.
Well, first of all, it's not the question to ask. It's the wrong question. You never begin an investigation with a conclusion. Moreover, the aim of the investigation certainly is to uncover fraud and then make those who are responsible pay a price for it. But that's separate than election law. Here's the issue in election law. It's, do we have faith in the election? That's what the certification means. Were laws broken such that the election, we can't have faith in the outcome? And the answer is very clearly yes. There's admission of laws being broken. The law requires a Republican and a Democrat in America to watch the count. That's the way we make it fair. It's called transparency, and the laws require that. In these urban areas, in these big counting centers, they kicked America out of the counting room while Zuckerberg was paying the officials inside. He was paying for the machines through this charity that he ran his money through. He was operating a shadow government. That is a violation of law to remove Republicans and make it so we can't see, America can't see in the counting room. We also have violations of law in that they didn't keep the proper logs in the movement of ballots. We've demanded them, and now we're finally getting information they didn't even keep it.
Yeah. If you didn't do anything wrong, then what are you hiding? Why wouldn't you release this information? That to me right there says it all. If you have nothing to hide and you didn't cheat, then why wouldn't you let us see all of these, the voter, what they call the rolls and the logs, so you can compare and do a proper audit with the signatures, see the GPS trackers where these trucks are moving. If you have nothing to hide, give conservatives the information, let us pick it apart, compare it, and then if there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to hide. I just don't understand why they won't do this. Wow. Phill, I gotta end with this. Your group now, the Amistad Project, are you focusing keely and solely on Pennsylvania, or you guys are in several states now investigating?
No, we're in 5 states. We're getting ready to initiate new efforts to seize the ballots and prevent the evidence, prevent that evidence from being spoiled.
Yeah, it's got to get to the Supreme Court, because obviously you have such liberal justices in the state of Pennsylvania, which we've already seen because they changed their voter rules right before this election, which was, I think, illegal, right, against the Constitution. You're not going to get a fair shake in that court. So it's going to have to go to the top, and they're going to have to see there was election fraud and do something about it. Because let me tell you, I just pulled up, and we're going to talk more about it in the show here a bit later. There are tons of Democrats on the record for the last 16 years, I found, saying that these machines can be compromised, that voter fraud and election fraud happens. But in 2020, it didn't happen. But they've been saying it for 16 years. So,
That's right.
Hypocrites. Phill